started if y'all ready. If you would join us in invocation. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to come back here today to do the business of the people. We pray that you would guide our actions, that we would make the best decisions possible. We thank you for the privilege of living in a county like Gilmer County and for the freedoms that we have. We pray, Father, that you would watch over those who are sick, those who protect our freedoms, and that you would keep them safe, Lord. These things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, does anybody have any changes to the agenda? None, I would make a motion the agenda be approved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Which brings us to citizens wishing to speak. Anybody would like to speak on any topic? Yes, sir.
My name is Stephen Lockhart. I missed the last meeting, and I'm a resident on the river, about 1.5 miles, 2 miles before the takeout. And I've had to call the police 3 times in the last 4 weeks. I've also had to deal with things by myself on the river. And I'm not talking people yelling and screaming and having fun and your typical thing. I'm talking people coming onto my property, my neighbor's property, going after the animals with sticks and rocks, throwing rocks at me, throwing rocks at my girlfriend, going up in the trees at the house next door. I have video of people coming on land and basically threatening me to when I'm asking them to leave property. It's worse. People are different this year, I think. There's a different sense of what people can do, and I'm seeing it. And I'm really concerned about how people are behaving and threatening me on my own property. I have video, pictures, text between me and the folks next door, trying to figure out what to do. I've met the police down at the bottom. This isn't litter. This isn't people having fun. This is getting out of control. And, you know, from what I hear, we're having people at the bottom, people at the top, but that doesn't really do anything in between. And when we're getting to the point of violence, there's been racism towards me on the river when I ask people to get off my property. You name it, I've been seeing it the last few months. And I love these guys that work on the river. I know Woody, I know Tripp, I know all these folks, all the kids that work on the river. I was here, I think it was last year, you know, saying how it's great, you know, and how the tubing's fantastic. And I still agree with that. You know, it's a big part of Gilmer County. It's part of who we are. But this is different, and I think we need to look at what's going on the river. I mean, the video, I can't even play what I have because the language is so bad, and the people are so bad. On property, just, you know, when you're just asking, please get off, and you're told every name in the book I've been called, and I'm sitting there for 10, 15 minutes trying to get people off private property, and they're saying F you, and anything they can think of, throwing things at you, throwing things at the geese, the duck, you know, any critter that they see. I don't know what the resolution is, but this is not a good thing. I've gotten to the point where I have to take my phone and my weapon when I go and confront these people on my property or next door, because they just bought there, so they live in Jasper while they're doing construction. And So I have text where I'm trying to talk to them, what do you want to do? I've called the police, you know, we've cut down all the swings. They're literally standing on the private property signs I put up all the way down, you know, screaming at me, and it's, what do you do?
Does it
What do you
appear
do?
that alcohol is involved at all?
It's, the alcohol's gone down. Didn't we do a, thing with containers? I mean, it's still coming down the river. You know, let's be honest, people are still bringing stuff down the river. I pick it up every day, right? But that's kind of status quo, right? That's part of us letting people go down. When you have 600 people, you're gonna get 10% that are gonna always do something, right? But that's one thing, but when you're going after animals and people and destroying property, I mean, I'll be happy to show you these videos, but you're not gonna like them. You know, it's,
Sir, what's your name again?
my name's Stephen Lockhart.
Thank you.
I'd love for y'all to come and spend a day, Saturday or Sunday at my house and see what really goes on. There's the top and there's the bottom, but there's the river. And the river is where the things go on, where there's certain areas where people congregate. And those are the real problems. I'm on a it's real quiet where I'm at and deep. And so it's very advantageous for people to want to stop. And there's 300 feet of shoreline there, where it's just, you know, it's temptation, man. You want to stop and, you know, relax. And we let people stop and, you know, hang out at the shore. That's no big deal. They're just having fun. But the ones that come up and are just destroying everything, urinating, everything you can think of, you don't want that at your house, do you? No.
The question I have though is, what can we do about it?
That's the $1 million question,
Yeah.
right?
You know,
Well, and I don't know where in the section of the river are you located at?
I'm about a mile and a half before the takeout at the bridge at Blackberry.
So are you where the River's Edge subdivision starts?
I'm in Canoe House, Whitewater, but I'm actually not in the HOA. I'm at the bottom on the other side where that existed before the HOA came in.
So you're at the very bottom?
I'm at the very bottom.
Falls,
Yeah, y'all know Bill Daniels at all? Anybody?
Yeah.
I bought his old house.
Yeah.
I bought his house. And then some folks just bought next door where we had a individual for many years there. So,
About a year or so ago, I sent out some recommendations as far as an amendment to that ordinance that I felt like were necessary. Remember, this is county property that's being utilized as a takeout.
Takeout, yeah.
But again, I mean, you're in a partnership at this point in time when you allow them to use that can of takeout in the manner in which it's being used. So, being in a partnership, you have the opportunity to kind of, I don't want to say dictate terms, but you do, so to speak. I made a recommendation that the fees have to go up and you need river marshals throughout that corridor. And those river marshals need to be either employed by the outfitters, because it's their livelihood that is really at stake at this point in time, or the county. And those river marshals, they're hot spots, just like he said, they're hot spots. They're where it's deep enough for somebody to come out of the river and do that little pleasure activity that they're doing. And a lot of times it's not intrusive and it's not objectionable, but those activities that 10% go through. I mean, if I lived where he lived, I would probably be distraught over the fact that what's occurring. I mean, I assume you probably work Monday through Friday.
actually, I'm retired.
Well, if you did,
So I actually get to see more than the norm. But really, I mean, think about it, it's really 10%, let's say. And it's like 600 people, I think, are going down the river on good days. So there's my house, there's the whirlpool, and a couple, where the canes go down. Those are the real hot spots along with where I'm at.
do you think, I know we talked about putting those signs, you put your private property signs.
signage isn't gonna work.
It doesn't
If it
do,
was
they
like,
step
saving
right
the
on.
rest is gonna,
Signage will not work.
Okay.
I mean, You can post a sign, please don't burglarize me, or don't come in and arm robbery me at the convenience store, and it's still gonna occur. I mean, those that have no respect are going to continue to disregard signage. Signage really just keeps the honest people out, is really what it is.
That's-
I was, for a couple of hours before the takeout at the Rock area a few weeks ago, and took a lot of pictures and video. And it was a constant where everybody was getting out, kids were doing the rapids
Yeah,
over
they
the.
recirculate,
Yeah.
recycle.
And then families would get out, and then there were some that were going into the woods and going to the bathroom. And I was standing right there, they didn't know who I was, but I was, and I was thinking, a sign right there, right at the break of that woods, because one family got out and came across the rocks because they didn't want to kayak down the rapid. They didn't have helmets, or by choice, I asked them if they had an option of a helmet, and they were afraid to go down that rapid right there with kayaks, so they wanted to get, and they were like, can we get out of the boat to go, I was like, of course you can, to go. So I feel for you,
But I do believe y'all need river marshals along that corridor where those hotspots are. And then if you develop another hotspot, but those river marshals shouldn't come at the expense of taxpayers that don't utilize that service. That's the other thing, and that's the reason. The state of Georgia, if I go visit Amicalola Falls, charges me $5 parking fee. I mean, and the $1 per person that we're charging down there is probably a little low, to be honest with you. But I think and what would be the duty of the river marshals is you outfit them with the responsibility of maintaining that they don't let people get out of the river. I mean, outfitters notify them when they get into the river that it's private property, that they're going to go down, and that they're not to get out of the river whatsoever. A river marshal, it'd be like an umpire or a referee at a football game, you outfit them with a whistle. And then if they continue to go on to his property or the other person's property, you allow that homeowner then the opportunity to press charges for criminal trespass. But then you've got that river marshal that will be able to be a witness in that scenario that will serve somewhat of a quasi role of a sheriff's deputy. Not necessarily a deputy that has the ability to, that's going to carry a firearm and be certified, but just somebody that can assist with that prosecution should it be necessary.
To add to that, when I spoke to the officer on the last call, my question was, okay, let's say we meet him at the bottom, what can we do? Well, how old are they? What are they doing? Really, the typical is nothing. And his thing to me was, do you have survey marks on your land? I was like, what? He goes, you need survey marks so you can prove on camera that they're on your land. And you have to have a camera going for not only just confronting them, but if there's an altercation. So I got to have my survey markers, I've got to have my camera, and then I've got 8 people that are trying to come after me from the shore. So how is this going to work? That's
another thing, that's a misperception that you gotta have. I mean, because there is no public ownership of property anywhere along the corridor except down there at that takeout. There's no strip of land that hugs the bank all the way up to. You come out on dirt, you're on private property. I mean, it's just the way it is. So that's a
Doesn't that property
misperception.
go to the middle of the river?
I believe it does on all
It
the
is
way
centered.
down through there. There may be a lot or two that stretches all the way across. There may be, when I say lot, maybe a parcel. But yes, so in that situation, I think maybe educating the deputies as to what is private property and what is not private property, and then asking them to enforce it. It comes down to enforcing. If you choose to take a blind eye to it, it will only continue to foster. The moment you begin to enforce it, either the individual sees somebody else getting arrested and they choose not to do it, or those that are arrested choose not to come back. Now, is that a loss to the county? I don't think so. Because we all
You list one picture of the person that was arrested at your place, don't get out of your boat, this person.
I mean, I know when Tripp puts them in, he doesn't ask them to step out on private property. He wants them to float all the way down and get out where he's asked them to get out. But when they're half a mile down, I mean, I floated, I've kayaked. he has no control over them when they're a half a mile down, do you? Yeah, now, but if you stage river marshals in there, you've got somebody to help police it. And then, go ahead.
Well, let me ask you, when you call the sheriff and someone comes out, by the time that the deputy gets there, are those people still there, or have they at that point moved?
Well, it depends, like this last one, these kids, they were 16, 17, and they had alcohol. So, and I told them I was gonna meet them at the bottom because I want to press charges, because they were trying to physically come up on shore and fight me, and then they're, oh, we're 16, I'm like, you come up on shore, I don't really care. You know, I don't care how old you are, you come up on me and my private property, it's whatever goes. And I said, I'll meet you at the bottom. And they didn't show up. So the kids pulled up somewhere because they've been drinking. 16-year-olds drinking and driving. And so they probably sat at like the Whirlpool or, you know, a couple of the places where everybody parties and waited. Because I was down there about 45 minutes and then the sheriff had to leave. He had another call. Rightfully so. You know, you got to go for the next call that's, you know, that takes importance. So.
I guess my point on that is if somebody's not sitting there at the time, you know, I think it's going to be very difficult to get somebody there and collar these folks before they just move on.
I'm not suggesting that you do have a ability to not be able to arrest them or effectuate arrest at the time because of the delay in responding. One other thing that I'd recommend is each outfitter has their own colored tubes.
I think you do, don't you?
We have a separate type than they do.
Yeah, but they're not all the same. I mean, they're mixed. They're hot
Theirs,
spots
we
colors.
have all kind of different colors, they have yellow and clear.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So,
you can tell theirs are a lot smaller.
yeah, y'all blow yours up more and they
They're
don't
different
nearly
tubes. Ours are-
inflate.
When you've got the CRX in black on the front of yours.
I mean, they're written,
yes.
everything's labeled on ours as well.
But it would help because then you could at least identify the outfitter upon which they're leaving the tube from. If they're all pink, then we know it's ERO. If they're all blue and all those that are getting out, we know they're from that outfitter, and that helps to at least narrow it down. The 16-year-olds, they might have been in their own tubes from somewhere else and not even affiliated or have been put in by either outfitter other than the
Actually, they're CRX.
They were.
Yeah, whenever I get into it with these folks, I look at who it is. So when I go to the bottom, like there was one time when I tried to stop them from getting on the shuttle. I knew what shuttle they were going to get on, but they already got down and got on the shuttle before the deputy got there. So I know who it is, but I can't, you know, it's time. How do I, you know, they got
There used to
15
be
minutes.
a cop that would sit down there, and I know y'all mentioned the shortage, but if, you know, if we went back to that, then all he would have to do is buzz one of our workers, say, hey, these, you know, give a description. I know you got, probably text one of our workers down there that, you know, that's constantly down there, text them, hey, look for these people getting off, and you show that to the sheriff, and then y'all just, that's how you report it.
If you
That's what I
spent,
would recommend.
if you had one dedicated person one weekend, Gilmer County would definitely make up his salary. That, just in fines that weekend. And it would absolutely change the face of what's happening. I believe that with all my heart. Because we don't like it any more than anyone else does. We want the river cleaned up as well. It would help everybody, and I think you'd get your money back. I think it would.
Because people sneak stuff on. I mean, I'm telling you, like, people, you know, how back when you would go to a football game,
Yeah.
people would hide it in their boot or go to a concert. People do that.
I actually saw a parent, two parents, distract the person they were paying and send their small children, probably 9-year-olds, with a cooler around behind the shed and into a little slough with the cooler while the parents were while the outfitter was being distracted. I watched that with my own eyes. They're gonna get their beer on there somehow.
Well, Now, if you have somebody at the water, right, down at the water,
Well,
checking
they're-
as they're going,
They
that would be
actually,
a big help.
yeah, we do, we have a lady who checks life jackets and beer and everything. But these kids went down in a ditch where there was nobody and met the parents after they came down the
The
river.
original put in, they go through that whole
Yeah.
thing.
It
don't
goes
they?
back to accountability.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is not only on the river, if people aren't held accountable for their actions in one place, they're not gonna have that intrinsic motivation to follow directions anywhere.
Exactly.
And it's really frustrating because I'm also a property owner and I've had issues, not where you are, but, and it's just, it starts young. It starts at 9 years old when you're teaching your kids to bend the rules a little bit and get around it. I'm also a teacher, and so when you see that in young kids and you see the adults in their life teach them that or excuse that, they grow up to be these 16-year-olds that are rude and disrespectful to you and everybody that they come into
Everybody.
contact with.
It's more prevalent.
Right, I agree
Far
with
more
that.
prevalent.
I feel like in the past 5 or 10 years, it's gotten to be a lot more entitlement and a lot more, you can't touch me because I'm this and I'm that. And, you know, we want to enjoy the river and we don't want small percentage of people to ruin it for everybody. And these property owners have a right to their property. They have a right to not have people stopping and chasing their geese or even stopping and sitting there. It's their property. So I agree with everything you said, and I'm mortified that people are treating you that way. That's just uncalled for.
And I have these videos, and literally, you don't want to hear it. You really don't. My language from frustration, but their language from the original. It's embarrassing to have to go up with a phone to people on the river and do this all the time. I do this every weekend almost. I got to go up, and they're like, "No, why are you doing that?" Because you're on private property. I'm probably going to have to call the police in about another 5 minutes because you guys won't leave the property. So I have to do this. And I also got my 9mm here, so, you know, and now I've ordered a can of bear spray, so what's next? And this is a terrible way to spend my weekends. I don't want to do this. I don't want to have to carry a phone. I spent $800 on Lorex camera systems for along the back, so they don't vandalize my stuff. And my house is from here to that wall. I'm not one of the folks that's far away, you know, 48 steps, don't forget the ketchup on the way down. I'm the guy who, you get out of the water, you're at my bedroom window. So this is what I have to do all the time for my self-protection, for my property, for the animals. The stuff I see them do to the animals is ridiculous. I'm a critter person, you know. I love animals. And if anything pisses me off worse than the people come on the property, is people throwing rocks and sticks at the geese, the dogs, anything they see that's on 4 and 2 legs, they go after it. And they don't care. And it's not you guys. You're running a business, you're doing the best you can. We can do more, but we gotta do something because this can't keep going on. This can't.
David, with the landlord's permission, could we place a deputy
Yes.
there for one weekend? I think word got out, and gosh, these people get serious.
The property next door to me where they just bought would be a perfect place because nobody lives there.
Like,
And-
you know, yours and that at the
And
same
it's,
time.
yeah, and it's a key spot, it's a hot spot if there's any. The other spots, the homes are farther away from the whirlpool and the rocks and that. So there's not homeowners looking out and particularly trying to defend their property, right? I'm right there, so it's different for me.
I think to see somebody in uniform and livery.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you're right, I'm pretty sure you're right across from Denver.
And I think
Because
that's
it's a beautiful
one-
church.
One picture of somebody
Yeah,
being arrested,
and
or,
that
you know, or
property beside
posted
has been vacant for a while.
Yeah.
customer arrested
They
last
just bought
weekend
that,
Yeah.
for getting
And
on their boat. I mean, that would,
literally
The
For
only
touch.
thing is
one
people,
call
a lot of
nine
people are
and
one
go,
time.
what do you want me to do?
Floaters.
There's a store at
Yeah.
One from that,
5
Florida,
signs.
Miami, we
Yeah.
get literally Miami and that area. And then they come in one time and they're gone. They don't, you know, people like that, they don't care about anything local. They're gonna go to the bathroom at River Street Tavern and probably crash it up. And, you know, you just got those people that are like that.
And like you said earlier, it's 10%. There's all, you got the bad apples that ruin it for everybody. It's just how life is. But
I think we enforce the rules we have. We
Yeah.
press charges. I mean,
I think we need somebody down there to write, no, we've had a cop down there for what, 2 years, and I probably he's probably written 0 tickets. And I mean,
That's,
if somebody would do that, and they do that in front of all the people at the takeout, we tell them, every person that gets on, if you get caught with a cooler, it's 170, we make up a number, 175 is our favorite number. $175 for the ticket for the cooler, and then you get a $125 ticket for alcohol.
nice.
and do it.
And I mean, that's what we tell them, but there's nobody down there to, to do anything about it. All they see is a security guard yelling at them with a microphone from Black Creek Community.
And you
And
can't
they know
hear
you
that
can't-
microphone. I mean, I kayak up there all the time.
It's this big.
I can't, she can't hear me screaming at her
Well,
from
he
me,
keeps
you,
them off that
where the
bridge.
rapid
I can't
is.
imagine if he wasn't there. They'd be all over that
Oh,
bridge.
yeah.
Actually, it does happen to you in Manala. They will write you a ticket.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
On the Adobe, they have a game warden. If you ever know, they'll disguise somebody and just a game warden. That's what, all you, just to send a random game warden down. And he would, I mean, he pays.
He's out there a lot. People are already talking about him. He's not marked. He's legal and everything. He runs that river, and you get to the takeout, and there'll be 5 or 6 people talking about, man, I got caught today with this. Oh, this and this. This is
That's what I'm talking about.
good.
And
You know the rules.
One came and talked to us Monday, and we were telling him, because there's 2 of them now. I forget both of them.
Here on ours, Burgers now.
I get, no, I mean, he came and talked to us and put in, both of them did.
The thing about that guard that's on the bridge, he's not there to really look over and keep order at the takeout.
Oh, I totally understand.
He only guards the bridge and the building.
Off that bridge and
Yes.
off their property.
Yes, and if he wasn't there, they would be all over that bridge.
Which is why
Yeah.
the two associations actually pay him to be there.
Right.
But that's not, that probably solves their problem, but it's not gonna
I
solve this
totally
problem.
understand. I
Yeah,
think
I wasn't paying
our,
That's not fair to those 2 associations to have to find a guard.
No, it's
Well, I
not.
agree, that's fun.
well, they live there. I mean, I don't know what
But I
else.
mean, Carlene, even if you live there, you expect to have some right of privacy. And
I agree.
honestly, that, if enforcement is an issue, then it should be the county and the sheriff's office to enforce
I
it.
totally
If
agree.
it's a funding issue, then that funding should come from those that are using that service. That's the thing. So,
One thing that I would wonder about when you mentioned somebody being down there in uniform is if we put somebody down there in uniform, I think most of the people who cause the trouble, if they see the guy standing there, they're just gonna go on and cause their trouble somewhere else.
that's true.
So unless you can keep that guy there, for the foreseeable future, I don't think you're really solving the problem. So my feeling on that would be, yeah, put somebody down there, but don't put them in uniform. Let them have a badge to flash or whatever it is they need, but don't advertise that.
No, they don't have to be, I mean, they don't have to be.
They can't go anywhere. Once they get out, they have to get out and take out. There's no other get out spot. So, if they do get out and you know who they are, from any resident, that the cop be in uniform or not, because they don't have anywhere else to go. When they get out at that takeout, the next takeout is 6 hours down the river, and then they have to have their own vehicle and everything.
So what this person would need to do, basically, then, would be to have them provide identification, which could then be relayed to a deputy at the takeout,
Picture.
who would be,
There's a cell phone picture. Text it to them.
whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
But have your deputy there. But now, my feeling on that too is that unless that deputy actually arrests them, carts them off,
Sites
See,
them.
that's the other issue.
That's the thing,
We can't
the
do that?
deputies have seen the people getting off, I know they have, and, I'm not gonna, I don't know the deputies by name, but when they see people getting off belligerent, knowing that there's no alcohol, and they don't do anything, then, that's not really,
And that goes back to the situation where they're saying, suggesting he has to have survey markers for where his property's at, and that's a
Videos.
misperception of where the ownership of the property begins, and that's an education that Stacy would need to just inform his deputies, you know, where is private property out there and where is public.
Would you, be willing to attend a meeting, me and Stacy, to hash this thing out?
And
Where do you think it's going?
there is a sign.
Do you think?
So why,
There's signs everywhere,
But
but there's just
by
signs.
being on.
That's why I feel strongly about those river.
But there's no
waters.
accountability.
Putting people in the river, and that way, and then if it doesn't work, then you should still try to up another step.
How much do you think the dollar would have to increase to do that? About ballpark.
I could, that's a sandy.
well now,
$5 fee.
That's where I'd be starting is a $5, because it's the same as the state, but then the $5 is a parking fee. It's a
That's for
car
parking
fee.
for one car, right?
Yeah, so it may
Which
need
is
to be 2 to 50 or
But can we can't charge a $5 parking fee on property that's not ours. What we would have to do would be charge, where we're charging $1 now, charge 5 instead. But not, we couldn't call it a parking fee.
But if you did
Well,
charge $5 per person, you
Yeah.
exited from there, and what is your
I mean,
statistics?
that's half of our cost right there.
But
Our
those
tubes is
costs are
13.
generally passed on to the consumer, we all know that. So how many people are floating if you're down there using the takeout?
I mean, I don't, on a weekend, I'd probably say 400 or 500.
So,
Yes.
see, you can finance security pretty good.
Can I, but
But
that charges me who I'm behaving. I'm telling you that you're not supposed to be on this rock. I'm picking up the trash that you dropped on purpose or on accident. I'm trying to be a really good steward and a really good person. And I'm not saying that charging the money isn't wrong, but what's happening is now everybody's having to pay for the behavior of a few. So having a guard down there, having somebody who can legally arrest somebody for disobeying the ordinance that is everybody's well aware of it. They're being told, there's signs posted, they need to be behaving in society anyways. If these people are fined, cited, arrested, whatever, and you're, getting into the pockets of these people who are causing the trouble, that's gonna more than make up for $5 a person on that river.
well,
But now how would that be charging you if we
Because
charge them $5?
she goes down
Because
with us.
I'm a
Oh, I see
kayaker.
what you're saying.
So, right, so if my
I was thinking
fee,
about you as a homeowner.
right, no, and if my fee goes from 10 to 15, I'm gonna pay it because I enjoy the river that much, and I'm gonna support the cause.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
My point is, I'm behaving, and I'm overcompensating, I'm trying
you're
to,
also paying taxes
But-
for living on the
for
river.
the people that aren't. And I just feel like the more these people are disrespecting everything and getting away with it because it's somebody else's dime, it's somebody else's problem, it's not gonna solve the
While
problem.
agreeing with your point, I would also say that probably way more than 90% of everything that we do because we have to, that we would rather not, is not because the majority of the people don't behave themselves.
Right.
It's because of that minority of the bad apples that make the rest of us pay
Agreed.
an extra $5.
Extra costs for buying goods at Home Depot because of
What if
shoplifting,
we-
it's the same thing.
We would be willing to pay, an X amount. What if we split it between us, ERO, and the county? We all three split, a guard for the weekend.
When you say guard, do you mean like,
Anybody, whoever they.
do you
I
mean somebody who has the ability to write tickets, cite?
Yeah.
It needs
If
to
you
be
get an
somebody with
off-duty officer,
full,
it's like $30 an hour. Okay, for 2 days, if he sat down there and wrote tickets as an off-duty officer, that wouldn't cost hardly anybody. We wouldn't have to raise the price, we would just pay him every weekend. He could come up here and get half or a third of the money from Carter K, a third, how we pull it all together. But I don't think raising the river tax is what I'm gonna vote to $5 a person, and then pass it on to everybody else when we're trying to keep it a family-friendly, affordable. I just don't think raising it that much is necessary.
I'd say 2 police
Well,
officers.
How much are you thinking, what do you charge right now for two,
$13.
13?
And we charge $1 per, well,
We're talking,
$0.80.
we're talking to the deputy being able to take out.
Yes, sir.
Put one at the takeout and put one at the property beside him. It's not vacant, it's been bought, it's being renovated, correct?
Yeah.
But a security guard standing there, a true officer that can arrest and cite tickets and all that kind of stuff, on that property near him,
Well,
would let people know, hey, look, we're enforcing this, and if they're gonna take their chaos elsewhere, there's another guy at the bottom.
don't you think cycling these folks along the river would be a better idea than, here's the thing, if you're gonna give out tickets, what do you need? You have to have proof, right? You have to have proof, so when you get to the bottom, I've got to text pictures, I've got to go through videos and
I
stuff
mean,
and
if
get
it's
it down.
bothered, if it's, you know, if they're getting their nerves like that, I thought you would just shoot a text message to the off-duty officer that's down there.
Right.
Who would be waiting on
Charlie,
And that,
we speak with Stacy
Well, do
to
you
see
think-
what he would need from an enforcement perspective.
That's why I'm asking for your money.
Yeah, and then, once we know if it's gonna be pictures, if it's gonna be actually having to witness it, then you get a better idea as to the multiple number of officers that you may need or may not need on that board. So,
Why don't we plan on doing it over the next 2 weeks and put this on the August agenda for some action, based on our conversation and what we can do.
Not doing what for the next 2 weeks.
Meeting
No,
with Stacy.
sometime during the next 2 weeks, we would meet with Stacy for that.
It
The
would,
season's gonna be over.
they want
but
it.
whatever changes
Till
y'all make
October,
could be in.
September, Labor Day.
October.
could we ask for the meanest coffee house?
You know what, I think they're begging
We
for
need-
us to enforce.
We
Yeah.
need somebody who doesn't put up with any crap.
He's a teacher.
I'm a retired teacher. We put up with, we talk down a lot of people just kayaking. And we try to talk to them about wearing their life jacket for the benefit of the child that they have with them. And it just crazy stuff. We see crazy
People
stuff.
don't care.
Oh, I see babies going down without life jackets. Like 1.5, 2.5-year-old kids going down with nothing, it's crazy.
I
crazy.
know, it was shocking.
It's
from
crazy,
our house.
man. I'm like, oh.
I know we're approaching the point where it'll be end of season, but this is not something that we can just, and it's fixed. If it takes 2 weeks to have some conversations and take some action at the August meeting, and we get everything in place and we find ourselves bumped up against the end of the season, the only thing I can say about that is, we should have a good plan in place for next season.
I agree.
That's better than
It's
nothing.
just,
Absolutely.
It's just not something that we can walk out of here, this meeting today, and this weekend, everything's gonna be great, you know?
I
Can I
started
make
paddling
a-
when there were no houses on that river. There was one house over the top. This is
Suggestion though?
Karen, Brad, this one. Karen, Brad, this one.
my 38th year, and I love the river as much as anyone who lives on it, so I want to see it. I want to keep paddling,
Kelly Campbell.
and I want to see it as much as they do. Be a good place.
Is the trash better than alcohol? I thought it was a lot better from me seeing it last
I
weekend.
hope so.
The
I see
trash
water
is
bottles.
better,
What-
lots of water, I mean, and where I'm at, because of where I am, it's like the first wipeout, where people are like, it's where all the cell phones go to their graves, and all the Croc shoes, I am the Croc shoe king. I'm gonna open an eBay Croc shoe store, but that's the way it goes there, because people wipe out and get it. You know, I have people knocking my door, can you come help us find our cell phone? I'm like, no, that thing's gone. But, that's where it starts, is my house, and then it picks up through the Chicanes and the Whirlpool. So that is probably one of the best places. One of my suggestions is because we keep looking at having a guy at the bottom, this and this, why don't we cyclically try both with these
I agree with
folks and see which one is more fluid and which one works? Because otherwise, we might kick a tire now, and then next year we're going to try the other one.
Well, the only thing with having somebody, if you just have them in one spot up the river, you'd have to have them, I would just suggest floating down and then get back on and float, because they're.
Do a cycle.
Yeah, like,
Do
I don't want somebody sitting on the bank.
Come
Because
over.
They can only set, this little section. They're not gonna be able to do anything. But they do enforce, they have water marshals, I would assume, I thought they were getting more DNR, going down every other river that I've ever done in Georgia or Tennessee. And and they will mark you, and then they'll pull you up to the side and write your ticket there on the spot.
They have a pincher
And you need to have the GoPros.
I mean, they're
I think
everywhere.
that whoever we have is gonna have to be somebody that we can hire. Because I know Stacy's problem is he doesn't have enough deputies to do what he wants to do out in the county without.
Yes.
What about
But
off-duty?
the funds can be used from
Well,
the funds can be used from the corridor account, and they can be used, and his officers do a lot of off-duty work.
And I say we have to hire,
Yes.
I'm including hiring off-duty deputies, I'm just saying that.
When they're off duty, can they write a ticket?
That's what they-
We just need to, first thing is discuss with Stacy what he necessarily needs to be able to enforce that ordinance. Does he need to determine ownership, or we need to provide him with how ownership is in the corridor? Those kind of things. Then, once we've armed him with the ability to issue a citation or to effectuate an arrest, then we make then the discussion as to, well, we'd like to hire some of your uniform patrolmen as off-duty to do this, and we'll pay for them from this account. It won't affect your budget, and it gives your employees an opportunity to supplement their income. So that would be, and we'll have that conversation with them, Charlie.
You're saying corridor funds could be allocated for that?
I'd donate to that, I don't know if that's allowed. I would seriously give my money to see that.
I mean, we want the laws or rules to be enforced. We want it to be as nice as we can for everybody. You know, we try to keep it as family friendly as we can.
This kind of thing is something y'all don't need.
And I was gonna say, most of the families had a blast, had a great time, and it was very,
There's that one bad apple that ruins it. I mean, that's just how it is in life. You know, it's everywhere. But, I mean, if we had somebody, I really do, if there was a deputy, I guess it was 2 years ago, Blue, I think that's his name,
Yeah.
the sheriff deputy. He was down there and like, I think people, when they step off the river and they see a sheriff deputy, they're either gonna not act as drunk or belligerent or ignorant as they would, or, you know, they're gonna get a ticket. And, I mean, they're not gonna be happy with the ticket, but it's on them. They're grown people, they make their own decisions, they need to take the consequences of their own, you know, sneaking stuff on, acting a fool. I mean, you don't just get away with it doing that.
At the end of the day, y'all need to remember it's a partnership, because the county's offering that takeout and y'all are utilizing that takeout. So that enforcement needs to be mutual. I mean, y'all need to be as strict and as hard as you can when you're putting them in up there.
I agree.
Because this is, in the years, and if you've been floating it for 38 years, you never had an issue in the first decade. I don't ever, and then when Jay Szymanski was running it, I don't ever remember any
It
issues.
was a different time.
Yes.
Well, to be fair,
that was
no
before.
offense, when I was a little baby, when she started doing this river, you didn't have people talking to their neighbors the way they talk to their neighbors right now either.
And that's where I'm leading, is
Right.
you're getting a pressure cooker down there, and it is only going to continue to
It's
build
tight.
pressure.
It's
And
tight.
at some point in time, there will be a violent act down there, and that will be the issue, that will awaken the county as to what they wish to do. And it may end up in a scenario that isn't what everybody would like. So, go ahead.
Well, there's going to, I think, have to be some sort of ordinance changes.
Yes.
And that's another reason why I don't want for folks to leave here thinking that we're gonna have this fixed in the next couple of weeks. It takes, better than 3 months to make an ordinance change. And of course, that's gonna put us outside the season. So I think a lot of the solution that we come up with here is probably gonna be in terms of next season. I'm not saying I won't do anything for this season, but the long-term things that we need to put in place that may require ordinance changes, you know, with the time interval it takes to change an ordinance, it's just not
That's how
going
it
to happen
works.
during
Right.
the season.
That's how it works. And
we also made a good ordinance and we have not enforced it.
I agree with you, that's what I would appreciate that, yeah.
We're not saying we're not gonna be able to provide some relief, hopefully, before the end of the season.
No, I don't want to imply that.
If we
I
come
want
down
us to
hard,
do everything that we can, but I think the long-term solutions that are going to require some ordinance changes,
Sure.
you know, it takes 3 months to change an ordinance and the season's going to be over. I just don't want expectations that we can change the ordinance, or
Right.
we can do all that.
Good.
This is-
A suggestion, what you're all talking about, the takeout, and having a cop there, that's at the end. Why don't you put a cop up at the beginning?
Both,
Well, there's three different
both,
ways.
yeah, they're so many
I
different
mean,
things.
They're only thing.
Why not, I mean, this doesn't have to be, I mean, we keep looking at the one thing, right? But it's really multiples, so
That's
why
where-
don't we,
That's where everybody that gets on has to get out.
yeah, we
There's
need,
no other place to get out.
we need to move
That's,
cops to where they're going in the middle where it's getting party zone, and where they're getting
But
out.
we're struggling to get going.
yeah.
No, I know
You're
that.
saying-
No, what I'm saying is
Yeah.
cycle them.
I think that there was one trying to cycle, and it was like wherever he was, they needed him at the opposite
Right.
place. So
Right.
it's-
There's 4 different spots. I mean, you got ERO, I don't know, do they go up there as well? They go to ERO, they have 2
Yes,
locations
yeah,
to
they
get
were.
in. We have 3. We have one at the pizza shop, one at the other side of the bridge, and then the other side of the bridge. So that's 5 different spots to try to cycle somebody.
But your most
But
populated
your most
spot.
the only place where all 5 of those spots get out is that one singular spot.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying, like, you can't have somebody going all the way around, just like she said, they're at spot A and they need to be at spot C.
No,
They
no,
can't get
no.
to spot C quick enough to enforce anything, so why don't they just wait at spot?
What I'm saying is to really properly look at the situation, right, along the corridor of the river. I understand what you're saying, brother, I really do, but to have a guy, you don't have to go to all the put-ins, but let's say the one up at the bridge, where a lot of people are, have them go there for a while, for when the people are really going in and trying to get the booze in. Then have them leave and go down the bottom, have them go
When
and
is
stop.
that time? Like, that's the thing, he goes, he rotates. They
But
literally
that's-
go from spot to spot to spot. They go,
Yeah.
they drive
That's how
spots,
it
sit for 20
started.
minutes, and then they leave to go to another spot. So I mean, there's,
Yeah.
they
I think you
already
find out from
go all over the place.
sheriff what we could do.
I know she's gonna have difficulty signing until she gets
Right.
prepared the minutes, because, aren't you? All this.
I appreciate
Oh, I know.
you guys all being
Yeah.
here and your voice, and I really appreciate the partnership of working together with property owners to show, let
think
them
we-
know, thank you.
We don't want the tubing and kayaking go away, you know, that's not
We
the
want them to stop
objective.
ruining for us, like, not to sound selfish, but like, I don't wanna deal with that garbage, you know?
I do think we've about beat it to death, those first.
I agree. And I feel like the people causing the problems need to be beat to death too, so, you know, there's that.
I'm not gonna agree, but I won't disagree.
Okay, thanks.
Charlie, if I might, while we've got an audience here
Yeah.
and things are happening very quickly, as everybody knows, we have been paving all over the county. I spoke to the paving contractor this morning. They may finish or be close to being finished on Turnip Town Road by noon tomorrow. The plan is for them to move in on Mulkey Road, and they will start the milling operation. So I tell you this because you're gonna have traffic disruption on Mulkey Road right away. And I don't know how you outfitters deal with that. What they will have is they will have traffic control, the follow-me vehicles and things like that. But you're gonna be sitting in a line of traffic waiting.
But you got the Stegall, you can,
And
We
that's,
don't use Mulkey much,
Yeah.
that's ERO uses, we use the tail end of Mulkey, but it's still gonna, but we come down Seagull Road, the cut-through road.
and
PRO
that's
can,
just, Jim, that's just during the week,
Pardon?
right? Not on the weekends, just weekdays.
Well, they do work some on Saturdays.
it is what it is.
Yeah, it's just.
But we're talking a couple of weeks here.
Yeah, we're talking a
It's
couple
gonna
of
be a-
weeks. The first thing is the milling, then they go back and they put binder, patching, and then the final coat, and then the striping. The striping is the thing that,
It's gonna be headaches and heartaches for a
Yeah.
couple of weeks.
Can't complain for a nice new road.
yeah, right.
I'm not gonna
All
say
right.
anything, I'm like,
I just wanted to
Yeah.
take the opportunity to let you know, you know.
no, I appreciate it.
Moving right along. Anybody else, the citizens wishing to speak on anything else? If not, resolution authorizing the advertisement of the rollback rate. And hopefully y'all all had an opportunity to look at that. So without further ado, I would make a motion that, to approve advertising the 5-year rollback rate.
Well, I'll second that.
Any discussion?
I wanted to reduce that a little bit.
Reduce it in what way?
Well, reduce the rollback rate.
Make it below 5.541, you mean?
Tax levy.
Pardon?
Tax
Tax rate. Well, it may be a cut, but this brings in $600,000 more than last year.
It does, and I'm concerned that we're gonna be $1 million to $1.5 million short with what we did this year with the inflation that we've got.
Well, my concern is the people are facing inflation too. It's just a thought, I'm talking about a minor reduction, also in the bond. We might be able to get a little bit there.
Sandy and I discussed that, and I would like to be able to give some there. With what we've got in reserve, if we were to do a quarter point reduction there, we would have to dip into the monies available. What was it, $300,000 or so? And there's only about $350 or something in there. We're putting ourselves very close to having nothing there. On the other hand, if we make that quarter point adjustment following year, we will have built that up one more time so that we will have that reserve such that we can bring it down a quarter point and still feel financially secure on it.
I'm not thinking in terms of a quarter point, even 0.9. I understand what you're saying, building up, but I don't necessarily want to, we're talking about building up, we're talking about taking in more that's needed. Is that
Well,
how we look at
only
it?
to the point of having an adequate reserve. In my mind, establishing an appropriate reserve falls into the category of amount that's needed.
Well, I guess the question there was an adequate reserve. Would it be on M&O or?
Well, in M&O, I think the generally recommended is 3 months operating expenses. And we're there.
Well above.
I think what, 3.3 was what we
Yeah,
were
we're
for?
getting closer to 4.
Are we? So, from that perspective, but now here's the thing too, I'm very much concerned that we're gonna have to dip into that reserve in our 22 budget, never mind the 23, because in the road department, for instance, we've all seen what's happening with the price of stone and other things. We've got the price of gas is killing us all, especially diesel.
What's,
We're not-
1 month operating expense? 2.5.
Oh, yeah.
30 million, 2.5. Which is 7.5 million, be 3 months.
But we've also we've had the luxury the last couple of years of CARES money and ARPA money, and I don't anticipate any more of that's gonna be coming.
Let me mention one other thing that I price increases that we've seen on everything. I'll use the heating and air as an example. You know, we waited 3 months and it dang near doubled. I'm very concerned at what the bids are gonna come in for on the bill.
Sure.
You know, we've got $2 million that we've got set aside for it. I'm beginning to feel that, well, I'm very confident that it's gonna come in over 2 million, but I'm concerned that it's gonna come in way over 2 million. And we're gonna have to meet that because that pool's got to get built. I just, there's a lot of unknowns that worry me about, you know, making it too much less.
I agree, that's my exact reason for that.
I'm a
Approval.
fiscal conservative. But also will be conservative with the taxpayer money. And each family is going through what we're going through. Gas is going up, everything going up, now taxes are going to go up. Which, for most people, will go up some.
Well,
With a revaluation.
it'll go up some with the revaluation, although with the rollback, it's not gonna go up the way they think it's gonna go.
I understand.
Um,
Only those that are affected by the
Well,
reassessment.
and I have probably become a little bit jaded, now I'll admit that, because what I see, and I'll use roads as a typical example. I know people want their taxes cut. They also want their roads paved. And they don't equate the two, I can tell you that. We can cut taxes and not pave as many roads. There will be a major outcry from that. You know, they'll like that we've cut taxes, but they still want those roads paved.
I don't think they won't cut as much as absence of an increase.
In my, and I guess that's where in my mind, with the increases that we're facing and going to continue to face, an absence of an increase, to me equates to a cut. I'm very concerned how we're gonna come up with a 23 budget without cutting services big time.
I think we will discuss it more budget time.
Well, even if we do come up with a lesser figure, this is what we have to advertise, right? And so all we're talking about today is just approval to advertise this.
As long as we don't go above the rollback, then, you know,
So
we can advertise this and then y'all can, you know, if y'all decide to set it at less, then we're good. We're
A lot of discussions have been at a later time then.
Well, it can be now and in
Yeah.
later times.
I'm fine.
I appreciate your thought if at a different time, but with inflation and everything going up, I don't see how, if people think about it, how the costs of county services don't go up also, causing their taxes. I mean, I think we're staying as close as we can, and I'm nervous to cut it at all, because I'm nervous for y'all next year. For y'all. Y'all. For y'all. Y'all.
I'm nervous for us too.
So,
That's the short time you're speaking.
Okay,
so I second, I would give you a second, I'm sorry.
any other? All in favor?
Aye.
And now, on that same subject, is everybody available for the meeting to adopt the millage rate on August 15th? It's a Monday, at 2 p.m.
As far as I know, I think I, Look
You
at
not,
the
yeah,
calendar.
I've gotten confirmation from a couple, but I wanted to. Sorry, Debbie.
What time is it?
Monday, August 15th at 2 p.m.
This morning.
Becky just, you know, she needs to have plenty of time to get the digest put together. And- Well, I know that's why I apologize.
Oh, we need for that one.
Well, I don't know, do
Oh,
you need to
seriously?
be, you have to be here for that? For them to just the final adoption of the
Yeah,
millage rate?
so
Okay.
the resolution.
Did you say 2 p.m.?
2 p.m. on Monday the 15th.
Okay, I did not have it on my calendar.
The school board has to set theirs first, so they are gonna be setting theirs on a special call meeting, at a special call meeting on August the 11th, is the date that Trina had given me, and the 12th wasn't an option, so we're going with Monday, which is the closest
So
day.
you're on Saturday the 13th,
Okay.
or Friday the 12th,
We can't do the 12th, Charlie's not available on the 12th.
Tuesday, Wednesday.
No, he's actually, got some training
Oh, really?
going on. So Monday would be the next day that we would have available after the Board of Education sets theirs, and then should give Becky plenty of time to get her stuff done. She has to have it submitted to the state by September 1st. So,
That's good for me.
They can get it.
you're short in a t-shirt as far as I'm concerned.
That sounds like a meeting to me.
That's right.
Discussion possible action of security guard at River Takeout. We discussed that a fair amount.
I think so.
Well, it does, I mean, if we're doing the other, do we need this?
Really, the only thing that I was wanting to discuss on this was not necessarily putting one out there tomorrow, but thinking in terms of if we have to pay half and they're paying half, or if ARO will pick up a third, either way, we haven't budgeted. And so we're gonna have to have a budget amendment, and we're gonna have to decide where that money's coming from. And I'd just like to throw that out, of course, to be thinking about.
Okay, I thought the money was coming from the dollar that we took in. I thought that was the plan.
I don't think that there's enough on that to pay for half. There may be for what's left of the season, but I don't know.
I mean, not for this, because
Well,
we didn't talk about this, but the
The
security.
other thing there too is, if we decide on the security camera, that's gonna take a big chunk of that. What, you not having any idea?
I think we've got about
Did you see this?
50
About that?
in my
Yeah,
account.
security camera.
We're just doing amendments, what I'm concerned, if we need to.
And I just, didn't know if this was the first time y'all heard it, if I recommended anything here,
People see.
or I brought that topic up for discussion. So it's not anything we have to take any action on today.
I appreciate you.
Unless it's, I would suggest waiting until after our conversation with Stacy before we.
No, I agree, because I think if we're gonna have a different route,
Okay. Discussion possible action of security camera at River Takeout. This is something that Ed recommended, and she actually came up with a very good idea.
I thought we were talking about this, I thought we were
Is that what
talking
you
about
call the
this.
left-handed?
There you go.
I'm sorry, what was
I thought we were talking about the camera, I didn't realize that we were just talking about it
Oh,
just
yeah,
a moment ago. So my thought on this is, I don't know that that's needed if we're going to put a deputy or off duty. Now, I get that we'll see it and do, but that's a.
It may not be depending on which route we take, but if we are not going to have somebody at that takeout stationed there all day, every day for the weekends, then I think that for a relatively small cost here, I don't think considering it would be a good tool to have, because I am pretty much over just saying I'm getting complaints, because, people assume the complaints came from one source, which they don't necessarily, or, then, the thing is, well, whoever complained is wrong, whatever. It's just like what I was saying last time, I'm over the fight. So, if we've got something like this, it's just, all right, here it is,
This is 24/7 monitoring,
Yeah.
whereas with the security guard, it's only on the weekend. And you have issues that occur throughout the week, during the weekdays too, when it's the peak summer season. So I think that's a good investment.
I make a motion to go ahead with it, with the money coming out of the river outfitter fee. And wouldn't have to be part of the resolution, but we could call it the Damon camera.
Name the
think
camera,
that-
but what
yeah.
camera? The Damon camera, name the camera after Edwina, since she has it right here.
I'll second that. And would, suggest, enough extra out of the account to put a little sign below the camera that says, Edwin and Damon.
And this
The
camera's
best
gotta be.
idea, Atlanta Damon ever had.
Actually, put it in a round sign and, that way she put her smile right there in the middle and that little dark.
She's gonna put her name on it, did she pay for it?
Does
Just
the
saying.
camera?
No, we'll take it out of the
I have a
courthouse.
question about the camera. Does the camera, does ETC, do they repair, or is this we're buying the camera and using their service? Because aren't we
If we're
having
buying
trouble?
the camera and using their service, there would be a warranty as a period of the camera, but beyond that, it would tell us.
Yeah, and it's put somewhere that
We
it's
would
not
have
accessible.
to get maintenance to put up a pole.
We'll have to put it
There's a
in.
telephone pole down there.
What?
There's a telephone pole.
Yeah, but it's pointing the wrong way. If we put it there with the camera.
You can put it on the, are you looking to face it towards the river, or are you looking to face it towards the?
I would be looking to face it toward the river.
You can put it on the backside, towards the river.
But I'm looking, if we put it on the backside of that pole and point it towards the river, what we're getting is the people that should be standing behind the sign. If they go in front of the sign where they shouldn't be, now they're out
So
there.
you want to face it towards the parking lot?
I want to face the parking lot. Yes. If people are behind the signs, they're doing what they need to do anyway. What I want to monitor is from those signs exposed to the state house forward.
It's right, I mean, it's right there.
Well, if we.
Probably save you some money if you don't want to buy the pole.
Yeah.
There is a telephone pole that's already.
Okay. If we can do that, that'll work.
Charlie, you may have rules to deal with the utilities about mounting some device like that on their property, because that is theirs, it doesn't belong to the county. My recommendation is we put a separate,
We can work that out.
yeah, but
So,
you can't just do it automatically.
Charlie, will there be a monthly fee for this camera as well?
Not the camera, just the internet.
Just the internet, okay.
yeah, this would pay for the camera.
Would probably need to alert Clarice when she gets the utility bill.
And what I would say is, would you be willing to modify your motion to say that, we would pay for this cost here plus the cost to install it on the pole?
Sure. And the monthly fee.
Then the maintenance.
And the maintenance fee. Okay. All right, and, do we have a second yet? No? We second?
First time.
I second it, okay. I will second that. Do we need any further discussion on it? All right, all in favor?
Aye. So
All
we're
right,
trying to tell, there'll be that camera there, that's 24/7.
Starting.
I believe
That'll
we're
keep it-
gonna need it.
That'll keep the door on.
If you don't let everybody know you're on camera down there.
So,
Unless we read it waiver. We already read it.
I think your signature.
I don't know.
Will you sign it first and then I'll